Welcome back again, everyone, to Galactalloy. Thank you for tuning in and listening. I am Alex. We're joined today by the lovely Scott over there, who's the new co-host.
And
so now Tyler is no longer an equal.
No, I am a lesser.
He's a guest.
Tyler's now in the guest position.
I am the lower.
Because Tyler will be leaving us.
Yes.
This will be his final, technically, well, maybe not final episode, but his last kind of as the permanent stay run.
This will be the last episode that I'll be on for probably quite a while.
Yeah, probably a little while.
Depends on scheduling and the games.
He'll pop his head up every once in a while. I'll make sure of it.
Every once in a while, we might play one that's like one of his favorites, and he might be able to join us.
Yeah, that's like the whole. It's actually it lined up perfectly because I wasn't even initially scheduled to be on the resurgence of Galactalloy, but they happened to pick my favorite game series, one of my favorite game series. So I was like, yeah, I got to do this, and then my wife will complain, but that's fine.
If we ever bring back around to Breath of the Wild, I'm sure.
Wow.
Okay, Ratchet and Clank, Breath of the Wild, pretty much anything Zelda related. I was actually talking about this with my wife. It's like, what games would it be for them to play for me to come on? It's like there's a very small subset, but yeah, you guys
haven't actually played a Zelda in a while.
Yeah, you guys talk
maybe
about.
We'll have to do that.
You guys talk about Breath of the Wild without me. I will.
No, I'll contact you. And we'll try to make sure we can line it up. And stuff.
You're your own, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So let's get into today's. Well, like I say, welcome to Galactalloy. Yeah, Alex, Scott, and Tyler here, and please visit all of our social medias: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Share it with your friends. Share it with your grandma.
Yeah, share it with everybody.
Don't share the last episode with your grandma.
No, make sure your mom hates Dead Space too. She needs to listen to the podcast. That would be fantastic. So
Have Tyler talk about shooting grandma in
Oh
the bathroom.
Yes.
Grandma crawled out of the bathroom as a spitter. Blah, blah.
Sorry, Grandma.
give us all the likes and subscribes, and if you're checking us out on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon, iHeartRadio, we're all over the place.
Galactalloy.
Yeah. Shut up, Scott, so we can spell it again. Here, you spell it this time, Scott.
No, absolutely not.
It's also, remember, on Facebook, it's Galactalloy Official.
Yes. But if you search for Galactalloy, it should still find us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like Tyler said, Galactalloy, if you don't know how to spell it.
Absolutely. We're easy to listen to. We're two guys or three guys and an assistant.
Am I a guy? Who knows what I am?
Tyler.
I'm
It's 2022. You can be whatever you want.
I'm a
actually.
necromorph. Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay. But, two guys and a necromorph talking about Dead Space.
So today we're talking about the third Space of the Dead.
What a game to send me
Dead
off
Space
on.
3.
I know it wasn't
It wasn't on
intentional.
purpose.
I know.
Don't think of it as the game. Think of it as the series.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to finish out the series.
And I have to ask, because just before we started recording, I heard him mumble under his voice, like, please don't tell me you hate this game. And I have to know, we're getting into it, but like, why? Okay, first of all, don't hate this game. Have a love-hate relationship with this game.
So do I.
So,
But-
I will break the ice and jump right in and say, this game sucks. Okay. To get that out of the way, to qualify, I don't hate Dead Space 3, but this game sucks.
So this is Dead Space attempt at co-op playing. And if you play with two different people, the story is actually slightly different.
It has a lot
The
of
co-op
cool
campaign is a little different than the
ideas.
single campaign.
Yeah, like there are some shining moments in Dead Space 3 that were some cool ideas. So like the co-op thing, and you experience the story differently. So like if you play solo versus playing co-op, you get a slightly different experience. If you play as the second co-op player, you get a slightly different experience. So you could really play this game 3 times and
at
get
least.
a little bit different experience all 3 times.
Absolutely.
Because like certain things happen to certain characters, don't happen to others. So like a lot of that is really cool. And especially if you're an RPG fan, we like all these options and branching storylines. And that's why Skyrim is still one of the biggest games out there today, 10 years later. And is it? Oh, sorry. Hi. I thought you just wanted to hold my hand.
I'm scared. Dead Space.
But it gives you a lot of rewarding options and storylines within Skyrim and other great RPGs and stuff.
Yeah.
But so it was a cool idea, but at the same time, it's kind of like I don't really give a shit. No one really should play Dead Space 3
Okay,
together.
so Okay.
Carter is cool.
Carver.
Carver.
Is
yeah,
Carver?
Carver.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
Carver. Carver's okay. I will say he's okay. The best part of Dead Space 3 to me is the freaking weapon customization.
Yeah.
I absolutely.
See, that's where Tyler's going. This is horrible. It makes it.
Oh, go ahead, Tyler.
Make your
Speak
point.
your mind.
Make your point, and then I'll talk.
Well, no,
It's fine.
because for me, I like the idea that I wasn't limited to just whatever they gave
Yeah.
me. I had the ability to build something in my eyes that worked out better for my playstyle.
Yeah.
Which every single one of them did. Like, it's like, okay, you have a line gun. Well, if you take this part and this part, tweak it to make it work, now you have a particle whatever.
Yeah. Well, and there were certain synergies from certain weapons, which
Exactly.
was really cool and stuff. The thing, okay, so in my playthrough of this game, we played this game years ago when it first came out.
Solo co-op.
I don't really remember
9
too
yards.
much of it when I first played it again. Like, I remember little snippets, right?
Yeah.
And so, to be fair, like right in the beginning, all I did was I just looked up, like, what's the most OP weapon combination? Because, again, we're just trying to get from A to B to have a reference of the game. And I picked the force gun with the telemetry spike with it turns into the chain gun, right? And it is
Oh, yeah, that thing is
overpowered
incredibly
because you just
overpowered.
knock stuff on the ground and mow everything down.
Yep.
Like, the game has virtually no challenge in it the whole time. There are some moments that are a little more than others, but virtually no challenge. So the idea that, see, that's where I come into, like, Dead Space 3 had a lot of great ideas that they didn't. I don't know if it's just because they weren't given the time to fully flesh out, because they were trying to EA was like, crank the games out, make the money,
I
so
think
we
that's
can
what it was.
shut your studio down and make other horrible decisions.
And they still did.
Yeah, so they pushed this game out, and like the weapon customization is really cool until you find out in the first couple of chapters you can just make super OP combinations that seem like they weren't even play tested.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because some of them are so strong that it's like, were they even thinking when they made this combination?
So, to that point, since we're talking about weapon customization, and this game, just like this, like the second game was the natural progression of the first game. The third game, in its entirety, is kind of seen, and I will defend saying that it does feel like a natural progression from the second to the third. There's a lot of things that are like really over the top, and they kind of go balls to the walls with it from the beginning, and some of it doesn't make sense, and some of it gets crazy. We'll get into that. But I am personally not a fan of the weapon customization because, one, yes, you can overpower things very quickly. Two, I really prefer the power node set upgrade path that you can have for each individual weapon. Being a huge fan of Ratchet and Clank, we kind of mentioned that before the recording. I like the idea of each weapon in Dead Space 1 and 2 being unique weapons that had unique alternate fires and unique primary fires that were useful for certain scenarios, certain situations, and you could switch between them. I don't really honestly like just like having a line gun and a submachine gun, and you just like like you have one weapon, all the ammo has been homogenized into one singular ammo clip, which is a stupid name for it. They're magazines, ammo magazines. Anyway, that's like I said, I have
Clips do exist.
Yes.
On really old guns.
Yes.
Yes.
But so like this, like it's like it took away this uniqueness about the game. Like it's just like it's this game that is so much Dead Space, but at the same time they've kind of just sucked the soul out of what makes Dead Space to me.
I will state this: out of the three, this one has the least amount of horror for me.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It's okay.
From the
so
beginning, it's
when
just
you talk about like genres of horror, and you have like truly scary stuff versus like body horror stuff. Like some stuff is horrifying just because it's gross and you don't want to look at it. It's not really that scary, but like the idea of these terrible things are kind of scary. And Dead Space 3 goes much more into that realm of like, yeah, if you were in this situation, it would be scary as shit, but it doesn't have the same, you know, kind of creepy feel and stuff from Dead Space 1 or 2, you know?
Well, and so they did things that were to me were weird decisions.
Like shooting people more than necromorphs?
Yes, you first of all, you fight actual people. It's now a cover-based shooter.
Okay,
It
all right.
was.
So I'm gonna stop you.
You
right
have a
there.
dodge roll.
I'm gonna stop you right there.
Sorry.
People, I've seen that all over the place. People are like, oh, they just turned Dead Space into another cover-based shooter because Gears of War. There's like 3 parts that have cover-based shooting.
True.
Okay. Now I'm not saying I like it or that it's any good, but it's not the whole game.
True, it's not the whole game, but the fact that it's in there at all, like we made mention in the second game, is like humans are after you, but you are never out to kill other humans.
You
like,
run.
Yeah, you run, and I get it. You've been awake for however long. Isaac is in isolation. He's pissed off.
Alone.
He's alone. Ellie left him. Screw the captain guy. The unitologists are now after him, so it's like, what choice do you have but to kill these people? But
Yeah.
it's just like it doesn't feel right.
Oh no, I totally agree. So like right from the
Yeah.
very beginning. So like Dead Space 2, we praised how it's like stuff's going down, run. And this one is like stuff's going down, but it makes no goddamn sense. And what happened to the past? I know like the other was like, what happened to the past 3 years? He literally lost them,
Yeah.
right? But in this one, it's like all this stuff happened, and you know what it feels like? Hey, guess you should have bought the book.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's like it's
Yep.
that same Halo
what-
syndrome
yeah.
kind of thing. Guess you should have gotten to the expanded universe. You're not big enough of a fan who's willing to spend the money to see what happened in
Yeah, it's
between
what
these
happened
games.
between 4 and 5 of Halo.
Yeah, it feels so.
Yeah.
It's garbage.
Yeah, the game starts with
You're not even
First-
playing as Isaac. You
Yeah,
play as
you
some
start
Ian dude.
What
200
I
years
put
in the-
down,
in the
whiny
past.
ass soldier boy who screams every time he sees an enemy.
Yeah.
You're a soldier. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not that you can't be as scared as a soldier, but it's like, dude, you're going to a place with a gun knowing you're supposed to shoot things.
Yeah.
And every time anything, and it's not even like jump scares popping up. It's just like, oh, there's dudes coming. He's like, oh no. Like, oh my God, that dude was such a crying little whiny baby.
then
So-
he caught a bullet in the dome.
Yeah.
Now, he was given a raw deal.
Yeah.
I'll give him that.
That was 200 years in the past. Who cares? But the enemy
that's the point.
designs, the necromorph designs, like, yes, there are traditional necromorphs, but so many of the designs of the enemies in this game feel like again, big thing I'm going to keep reiterating this entire time that we're talking about this is over the top. They took what Dead Space 2 was, and they're like, how do we make it bigger and better? And they just went over the top with it.
Okay.
Yeah, less is more.
Yes.
Give
I would
credit
say,
to-
though, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I know, to give credit to you, less is more in
Yeah.
this situation
Yeah.
because Dead Space absolutely took Dead Space 2, put cocaine in it, and tried to make it like, here, play this.
Yeah.
But we're all straight edge kids here. Say no, just say no.
Say no to drug.
So I think that what they should have done, and I wasn't quite planning on getting this so early, but I think they should have actually went the other way. Instead of trying, because like I was saying at the end of Dead Space 2, 1 and 2, if it was just that, would
Yeah.
have been this
I was
near
actually gonna mention
perfect
that.
little package. If you would have taken Dead Space 3 and maybe even called it something different, you already had 2 other games or whatever that had a subtitle, right? If you would have taken it and gone even further, maybe not quite Blood Dragon realm of Far Cry, but taking it even further to like Resident Evil 5 territory. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, Resident Evil 5 sucks. And don't get me wrong, it's not great like as a horror Resident Evil game, but it is a fun co-op game.
100%.
And like the bosses in it, people are like, oh, it has these huge things where like, okay, yeah, it's not quite the zombie, it's not that intimate in a mansion, scary thing, but it is fun.
Yeah.
That game is fun to play with a friend and mowing down these weird African zombie dudes. And that sounded terrible. That's not what I meant.
They're literally in Africa. That's what he means. Cancel me. I'm leaving. Ah.
But just in general, you know what I mean? Like the types of zombies, they're fast, and then like the big monsters. Yeah, the turret section's kind of dumb with El Gigante, but then some of the other like, giant spider monsters, like it's a lot of fun to
Yeah.
play that game. And I think if Dead Space 3 would have leaned harder into it,
Like the bigger monsters. Because
Yeah.
there are a lot of big monsters, but
well,
more.
and made like yeah, it has a lot of action, but if you would have made it a little more, even more, and
Yeah.
synergized that co-op working together, like you have a certain type of weapon, I have a certain type of weapon, you
like
know,
Lost
and-
Planet kind of style.
Yeah, kind of. You know what I mean? Like if they'd have taken a little bit further, I think it would actually have been better for this game.
And that's the thing that really disappoints me is sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
but,
go ahead.
But like it's not that this game isn't fun. Like at its fundamental core of things, it's still Dead Space gameplay. Yeah, you have a dodge roll now, but that also makes it like to me the normal mode is more difficult than normal mode has ever been.
Yeah,
because
normal was
now,
really hard.
Yeah.
Even with having tons of ammo and stuff, like it was hard.
Because now you have the dodge roll. The enemies are super hella fast. Like there's all these things going on.
Necromorphs were like full blown.
Every one of them was
World
like
War Z
Yeah.
zombie speed.
Crawling on the
like
ground.
the soldier zombies from the end of Dead Space
Yeah.
1, like all of them were super crazy.
Yeah.
Like they were just like it was like, look that guy.
Yeah. But there were finer details that were missing to me. I remember distinctly the plasma cutter. When you shot things in the first and second game, it left like a burn mark on the enemies and things. And in the third game, and until you get it upgraded, it feels like it doesn't have as much punch. Like it doesn't hit the enemies as hard. It doesn't
The
leave a
plasma
burn
cutter
mark.
is like garbage.
Yeah,
they
it's
want
so
you,
bad.
It's because they want you to make other weapons.
Yes, I get that, but I'm a plasma cutter purist.
Okay, so it might have been a little bit different if you could, like, if it starts off crap and you can make it to be like really that would have been kind of cool.
No, it
but
just booted the
yeah,
whole
even
way
when
through.
you upgrade it, it's now never very good. But if you could have made it when
Yeah.
it was like a super good plasma cutter combo kind of thing.
Yeah, but now you have you take away the iconic rotator cuff like ability of the plasma cutter. That was a whole big cool
You can
thing about
literally
it.
give it to the line cutter, to the line beam.
Yeah.
and it was like you
It's
have
now
those
just a bigger-
giant.
yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It takes away from that
But even at
uniqueness of
that
each
point,
weapon.
you just make like a line cutter on top with a rocket launcher on bottom, cut a bunch of legs, and then rocket it, and then
Yeah.
boom, everything's dead. Like
don't like it.
you can do it. That's what I'm
The
saying.
upgrade
Like,
system is dumb.
it would have
The
been
circuits suck.
It would have been cool though if it were on a larger scale.
Yeah. Oh,
you know,
man,
like if
yeah.
it were a
If you went
true
just like-
third-person action game. But yeah,
With
if it
all
were like
that
a
stuff.
third-person action game with that kind of stuff, like say if you took it to another level, but eventually it just kind of got boring because every encounter I had was like force gun to the ground, mow them, force gun, mow them. Just that 1-2 combo, and like the whole game was.
yeah.
Are we going to talk about the fact that they just brought in another race of aliens in Dead Space 3? It was just
yeah,
like
completely.
By the way, there's another race of aliens.
This alien race exists. Yeah.
I'm like, and we're not going to touch on this. We're not going to expand on this. No, just
No, they're all dead. Who cares?
yeah.
They're all dead.
Yeah.
It's
froze like a virgins.
It's so many like the word ex machina. It's so many like things that they just expect you to be okay with.
Yeah.
Even the introduction cutscene, you can tell from the beginning that this is going to be a different game because it's like, hey, remember like they had the previously on Dead Space kind of thing, but now it's just like instead of you being launched in right into the situation that's whether it's the sprawl or on Earth or whatever the hell it is, like you now are given this context as to what's going on, and you're like, do you really need this in a Dead Space game? Like just like set me down with Isaac, and yeah, Ellie left me, but set me in
even
motion.
that. So we talk
Why?
about the end
We
of
don't-
like the love story, and they're like, "Oh, Ellie left me. Now he's sad." And stuff like stupid.
Yeah.
And
I don't.
He makes it such. It's like the defining factor of his character at
Yeah.
this point. It's like, oh yeah, I
That's
I
his whole
survived two.
I moved on
apocalyptic
from
events.
Nicole. Like I forgave myself, and now I got into another relationship. She left me, and I'm sad.
Yeah.
Like
And now your whole motivation is I gotta find Ellie. Well, why are we going down to the planet? Because Ellie said so. Why are we stopping this invasion? Because Ellie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just because it's okay. So, and like what I was saying at the end of Dead Space 2, Isaac should have died. And it's not that okay in real life. It's not that I want people to die, or that I want people to not have happiness and not find love and companionship and all that kind of stuff. But in stories, for them to be effective and for them to have that weight,
Loss has to happen.
Yeah.
sometimes characters need to die.
Yeah, it just happens.
And so if Isaac had died at the end of 2, and if Dead Space 3 was like Carver was the main character,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
immediately it would have
It
been
would
better.
have made sense.
Yeah.
Because then you're going soldier is going into big bombastic blow everything the fuck
And then
up Dead Space
Ellie
game.
could
Yeah.
be your co-op companion.
Oh yeah, Ellie could be the co-op companion.
She's the
And
new
she could-
engineer.
And if she was not quite as competent as Carver, that could give you your contrast of like when you're playing co-op, the soldier guy has to do certain things that Ellie is able to do because she's that would have been an awesome
Yeah.
idea. I
we just
think.
fixed Dead Space 3. You're welcome.
But yeah, well, okay, so
2 seconds, we fixed it. You're welcome.
right in the very beginning, if you let the menu play, and they have those videos that play when you sit for long enough, it says big IGN review snip, like this game incredible, and like that's a bad sign already.
Yeah.
Because IGN review anything. Like,
Yeah.
no offense, people who work at IGN, but you work for a garbage company that does garbage things with game reviews. Everybody knows it.
all
You know what I
paid
mean?
off.
So it's like right in the very beginning when that popped up, I was like, oh, That's a good sign for sure.
So IGN, give us a review. Give us some money, please.
IGN, give us an awful review. I don't care.
Yeah.
If you go on, like, if you start a war with me, IGN, that's fine, because that means you noticed me, and I'm going to put that everywhere. I'm going to buy billboards that says IGN hates Galactalloy. Listen here.
Yeah.
Go right ahead at me, IGN. Bring it.
Yeah.
But like, so like that very beginning when it opens up like that,
Yeah.
if you had know anything about the gaming world, you're kind of like, I'm not sure.
If you got to put reviews in your own game.
Yeah, and then the gross product collaboration with Slim Jim. Now, there's been plenty of terrible collaborations and stuff, and some of them are worse than others. But people give like Final Fantasy 15 a lot of crap because the cup noodle and
Yeah.
there's the quest and stuff like that. But this one, right in the beginning, it has the Slim Jim DLCs where you can buy Slim Jimmed armor and weapons and stuff. And it's like, another fantastic sign of the state of this game and what's about to happen.
At least
Even
it wasn't
like-
Pepsi.
Well, but even like the Destiny ones with their Red Bull collaboration, at
Yeah.
least I was already going to buy Red Bulls. So at least, like I get this little bonus code where I get some extra XP. It still kind of sucks. Like I still don't like the idea, but to pay $4 or $5 for a Slim Jim gun in Dead Space 3, like, are you fucking kidding me?
They weren't kidding you.
Yeah.
You pay that shit.
I didn't, but somebody obviously probably did.
No
And
kidding.
like Dead Space 2 had pre-order bonuses and DLC, but the DLCs and the pricing of things in Dead Space 3 were just so much worse. Like it was just like you get
Dude,
a gun and a suit.
I've played Dead Space 3 a decent amount, and I can honestly say I never really got any true sense of satisfaction from beating that game.
Yeah.
I've played it multiple times. I have played the DLC multiple
But it
times.
gets even worse if you play the DLC.
Oh my god, the DLC makes no sense at all.
I haven't played the DLCs.
The
get
DLC
to it.
doesn't make any sense at all.
I know enough about it to talk about it. I've never played
All I
it,
know is
I've
that
played it, and it doesn't make any sense at all.
yeah.
Because it.
but Let's
So
get,
all I
save
know,
it.
spoilerific, is that you're supposed to die at the end, but the DLC is you didn't actually die. That's all I know about it.
Yeah.
So.
I say we'll get to it.
Which is another thing that ruins stuff, because if you even just look through the menus, it says right on the beginning, like in the description for the DLC, but it says in the description something along the lines of like Isaac and Carver surviving the stuff of or the events of Dead Space 3, help them get away, and you're like, okay, then, like, I know they were supposed to die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're dead.
Now you just ruined that.
Is it
Thanks a lot.
Extraction?
Extraction. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what it's called. There we go.
That was gonna bother me.
Escaping extraction. That makes sense. But yeah, I mean, it's just like from the get go, there are some. You can see the cracks starting to form before you even play the game.
the
Yeah.
game ends. Okay, the game ends finite. Like it's like this is the end.
It's not like a great ending, but it's like at least it's a
It
good
wrapped
ending.
up. It wrapped up nicely.
Yeah.
I will give them that. It did wrap up nicely. But then they come up with this DLC that jacks it all up. So it's like,
Yeah, you want to talk about a good ending versus like trying to give like a happy ending versus like, oh man, well we'll get to that.
the DLC is a bogus ending. Yeah. It's boo boo.
Yeah. It takes everything you do throughout the entire series and just throws it out the window. You're
It
like,
absolutely
whatever.
100%
There's
does.
no point in any of this at all.
And then he literally turns Ellie into another Nicole.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It's like I can't do anything because Ellie, I have to get to Ellie. Shut up, Isaac. You freaking simp.
Well, Isaac a simp for Ellie.
He's a simp for every girl. It's like, Nicole, I'm a simp.
F's in the chat for Isaac. That's simp.
Rough is the word.
So right in the very first chapter, when you start getting going, you find out that there's markers everywhere, and then they've secretly been making markers all over the place.
The marker event that started it all 300 years
It
ago.
was even though it was so special in 2 of them being able to rebuild a marker from Isaac's imprint in his mind. Oh, but they're just everywhere now. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like, okay, other galaxy marker events or whatever. Like, shut up.
you can't build it unless somebody's mind gets the blueprints.
They played a lot of Halo and they wanted to turn Dead Space into the Flood.
Well,
and
so even with that, like with the Flood, okay, so at least with the Flood and the way that they're released, and like people start instantly turning into more Flood, and so like, I get that, but how is everyone instantly turned into necromorphs as soon as dude blows up the protection from the markers? What happened to the slow
Dementia.
de-evolution and stuff.
No,
the slow demise, the
They-
degradation of people's brains.
I'm pretty sure they touch on it in a audio or a text little pickup somewhere, but because of the fact that it's man-made, it's more contagious than the actual alien-made makers.
Yeah, whatever. I don't
markers.
care. Stupid.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. I'm not giving it like weight or
Unless
anything.
they somehow said because of the Isaac's brain and the marker creations from his extractions are
Well-
more potent, that would make
Okay,
I
so
would
Well-
even
do it.
still, okay, even
Well,
let's
if
assume
you
it
think
makes
about
sense
it-
in the universe.
Well, let's I'm going to try to make sense of it. Let's say that the marker blueprint that got put in his head by the alien marker made it where his marker was more contagious to humans.
Yeah, closer to.
Yeah.
Or something. Okay,
Well,
so like I
that's
say,
'cause- well, the
you
original-
you can write it however you want to try to make sense within the world. But I'm
Doesn't
just
make any
saying,
sense.
like once you do it, and it's like, oh, it blows up, and then there's necromorphs everywhere, and it's like, like with the sprawl, you've been out a couple of days. They've been trying to keep this, and okay, and I know the unitologists are trying to spread the markers. But it's still another one of those where it's all of a sudden it's like, oh, the unitology rules the world and the government has failed and just totally fall apart, and
Yeah.
like they
'Cause
released
how
this
many-
marker.
How
and
many years is it? Like supposed to be like 10 years after the events of 2 or
I don't know if it's
something?
quite that long. I think
No,
it's
it's not.
only a couple years.
Yeah,
I
it's not
think.
that long.
Okay.
But even still, it's just one of those where it's like it just didn't, like you wrote it like it makes sense, but it doesn't feel good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And why they hit Isaac to make him look like a bum? I was mad as fuck about that. I'm sorry, but like when they see him, he's sitting inside of his room. He's got like
Living in the worst place.
Because all he's been doing is drinking himself to death because Ellie left him.
simp status.
It doesn't even seem like Ellie had left him for that long at this point. But
Yeah.
there's no that's another thing. There's no context for how long things have taken place. Even when they explained the 300 years ago they found the black marker, then 200 years ago there was the event on Talos 4. Was not Talos 4, whatever that planet is.
Tal, Avar, or whatever.
Yeah. And then like
It's called We Don't Give a Shit.
yeah, and then like now the events of like happened on Ishimura, and then they explain like it's just like I'm sitting here trying to pay attention. I'm like, wait, what is this timeline, and why is the recreated marker, like you said, that they found in Aegis 4 more powerful than the black marker that the original quote unquote original marker was? That the original marker? Why is it?
I'm still trying to figure out what's the difference between a red marker, a black marker, I guess a teal marker. I don't
Big
care.
ass green
Well,
marker.
it got too. They were trying to make it too big, and it started to crumble under the weight of its own existence.
And
like
Dead Space 3 campaign was this game will drive you crazy.
Yeah.
It did drive
Yeah,
me crazy
'cause I
for
was-
being absolute garbage.
like, why am I playing this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and also, is it just me, or did it kind of look like crap?
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
if
like,
you
or
look,
no,
How does it look
you know,
worse
I'm
than
play-
Dead Space
again,
2?
I'm playing it on PC. I changed my resolution settings to have the highest frames and like to fit my screen,
Yeah.
and it looks worse than Dead Space 2.
Yeah, like
straight up.
how do you go from Dead Space 2 looking better than Dead Space 1 to Dead Space 3 looking awful?
So I think like I said, they were just trying to go too big and too many assets and just couldn't
Crank
handle
it
it.
out.
Yeah.
And the gameplay wasn't that great at all. Like, as I'm going through this game, you go from room to room and everything else. That horror feeling that we've been talking about in Dead Space 1, Dead Space 2, absolutely did not have it in 3.
The only thing I remember getting close is when you go down to find the snowsuit in when you first get onto the planet and you're freezing.
Only because you're cold. That's the only time
well,
you actually.
like the guys that are blind and like you have to distract them underneath the basement.
Oh, the feeders.
Yeah, those things are kind
Okay,
of
yeah.
scary. But that's like the only thing.
But that's a little tiny moment that they also way overdid, because when you first meet those, it is kind of an interesting, oh, I can throw a thing over there, and if I want, I can walk around them instead of having to fight them. But then they throw a million of them at you at every other encounter after
Yeah.
that.
They
And it's
overdo
like-
it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, like you had this neat idea that you ramped it up to a stupid level, you know, and it again, it might have made sense if the entire game was like at this level, but it just didn't
so much-
find that.
Well, so much of this game overstays its welcome. Like even before you get down to the planet,
It's way too freaking long.
yeah, you have all these side quests, which is like okay, interesting idea, especially for the co-op campaign. You have like the scrap mechanics. I would rather have more, I would rather have currency that doesn't make sense to shops that you can buy stuff than scrap. Like I mean, okay, the scrap in the context of the world makes more sense than having credits that you buy from a shop that shouldn't need credits. But I would rather just have the credits. Give me the freaking credits and the power nodes.
Well, it's
I
one
don't
of those
wanna
where it's like,
gather
again,
and,
just
like,
because it
do
makes
side quests.
sense.
Yeah.
Like just because it makes sense for an engineer, oh, I can scrape together these things to make a weapon, doesn't make it good.
Yeah.
Again, why are we paying for items in an apocalypse situation?
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring that up again. Just drop that ball.
Yeah. It's just it's like
What-
overuse of the bench.
Well, just a little. I mean, there's a lot of things that are silly, like in the one part in the beginning where you have to move the trains with your kinesis.
yeah.
How? How in physics? How in okay, I know it's a video game, but I mean, like, how is he able to move a train?
Yeah.
In space, I get it. Weightlessness, no resistance, stuff like that. But he just pulls a train. How is that not his best weapon?
I was just thinking about that. Like, it's dawning on me now. Like, why can't you just pick up any necromorph and just be like, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah,
if you can move a train,
Yeah.
even if it's slowly, albeit, if you think a necromorph weighs like 1/100th of that, if it can, why can't you just splatter every necromorph on the wall?
Yeah.
That would have been
Fling-
awesome.
Yeah.
Just fling them to Vermont.
It-
Yeah.
Like at the end where you have the giant kinesis pad, with that being like your kinesis ability from the beginning, and then
Yeah.
it being like, even more powerful at the end.
Even then, you can pull the spikes off living ones instead of dead ones. So I can move a train with this motherfucker. When I have the super powered, I should be able to just blow them up.
Yeah.
Like even the giant alien necromorphs, I should be able to pick him up and turn him into a pink stain on the wall.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, they should have just like I agree. They should have just leaned even
Isaac's
more.
midichlorian account must be off the roof.
But yeah, that's another example. It's kind of like if you would have just went full ball. No, you took like a half step into going extra over the top. If you would have just pressed the gas pedal all the way
Yeah.
and went full balls to the wall with it,
would've been
probably
great.
would have been awesome.
It would have been great.
Especially since they went from you being on one isolated kind of small ship to being on a bigger space station to now you went from a moon to a ship graveyard to a planet. It's like you go and you move through these big set pieces. It's like, okay, you have the scenery set up to be this huge thing. Give us the whole, like, you know, and
The
the
huge
boss.
thing.
And the boss is a huge bombastic thing
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
end. It's like, why can't that be more of the game?
Yeah.
no.
Which you don't even, I mean, like that. Okay, so that's a good example where it got kind of cool. Throwing markers
Yeah.
at the eyeballs of the thing.
That was
like,
pretty
that was
cool.
kind of awesome.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, I can do this. So again, if I can throw the marker at the moon, why can't I not splatter necromorphs?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It would have been great if to pick up a necromorph and just chuck it at it instead.
You're sucking the bomb ones off the ground and throwing it at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was. I don't know, why change? And one of the other things was why change a lot of the monster designs?
Yeah.
What was the point?
Oh, okay.
Why are all the monsters green?
Yeah, all of them. And like, I don't even know if there's a distinction between like the green ones that used to be green and the new green ones.
Yeah, because it used to be like the greener ones were like the stronger
Yeah. Well,
versions.
yeah.
but now they're just all green.
They all suck ass.
Yeah.
Well, and then they changed the babies to the little dogs. And okay, contextually in the world, they're like they use dogs to help hunt on the Ishimura. They grew humans for body parts, and that's why they were babies. But in this game, you had to
There's
be like,
no
they
babies.
had to bring dogs. Like you could have just used the same thing on this expeditionary thing.
That's why
took
they made
babies
well,
with
that's
them.
why they made the lurker things, the feeders, like bigger, like more like teenagers. Like they got away from this idea. Like I said, they took a bigger
Yeah,
step.
well,
in the-
they took the kitty parts out of it. They
Yeah.
took the scary
Yeah.
part. Somebody probably complained.
Your
like,
mom
"Oh,
doesn't like Dead Space.
Mom
2."
doesn't like your killing babies in Dead Space. Like, you know,
There was no boom baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sadness.
no, they were little boom alien things
So
with like the tryptophobia faces.
yeah. That's one of the like even more so another complaint I have against this game is they did so many things, but then one of the most egregious things to me, and we've talked about this in some of the other episodes, is especially with how Dead Space keeps you in the action from Dead Space 1 to Dead Space 2. Your menu, unless you hit the pause button, your menu, the shop, the everything, there's little small instances, a little bit more in 1, more so in 2, where they take control out of your hands. But in Dead Space 3, from the very beginning, there are so many instances where you're running along, and instead of it being like, oh shit, there's a new enemy in the room, it's like, hey, look at the new enemy.
Yeah.
Isn't the new enemy scary? Fight the new enemy. It's
No.
like, I just pop him out of the wall and I will fight the enemy. You don't have to take control out of my hands to show me this thing. Just let me play the game. Like they did that a lot.
Well, to add on to that, audio logs are garbage
Oh,
in
yeah.
Dead Space 3.
Yeah.
Why are they stationary computers you have to sit and listen to?
Yeah.
If you want people to keep moving in this action game and keep the action flowing, why do I have to stop and sit?
Because in
You can.
Death-
You can press it. You can go into your menu. You can replay it.
But that's still,
That's so
before
stupid.
you just picked
Yeah.
up the tape and it played and you could just continue
But-
on and it was great.
Yeah.
in this one, it's the action in Dead Space 1 and 2 is more like you get it in like waves as you go through. In Dead Space 3, there's just kill rooms. It's
Yeah.
like you fight a few, like 1 or 2 here, and then you get to a room, you fight all these enemies, and then you continue on. And then you get to another room, fight all these enemies,
Yeah.
and then you continue on.
It's 'cause
like
They
but-
turned everything into like mini dungeons, like with
Yeah.
all the side quests and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the idea of the side quests is not a bad idea in this. Even the scrap bot, like there's a lot of like interesting concepts. But now it's just like, yeah, especially like the conning tower. It's you go in and it's just like it's literally just kill room after kill room. And
Yeah.
in the context of what you're doing makes sense because of Edwards, how he set everything up. But then the whole game turns into that. You're just like, I am so tired of this crap.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Just kill room after kill room. It's just like, oh, I go into this room, and then guys run in, you kill the guys. Aliens run in, kill the aliens, and then you go in the next room. Oh, necromorphs. Go in the next room, more guys, and then oh look, hi Carver. He says some bullshit, be a prick for a little bit, and then goes, all right, go fuck off. Then runs.
Yeah. And it's really weird when you play just the single player like that. Because in co-op, it makes a little more sense. Because you're constantly communicating. So it's like, oh, Carver, you know, it
He's
shows
there with you.
Like you come in and out and there's parts where they get separated and you can have that dialogue. And when you see that done in single player, playing it by just by yourself, you're like, this is kind of weird. Like this
Yeah.
dude. And at one point, I thought it might have been brilliant. Where you're going,
It would have
is-
been great. We talked about this when we first played it.
like when you go, does Carver actually exist? But he interacts with other people that are in the game.
Yeah.
So if you had never seen him interact with any of the other people, and if you're playing the single player kind of thing, that would have maybe been brilliant. Of like that was still remnants of something in Isaac's mind that the events weren't really over. This
Yeah.
Carver comes in and out who you think is real, but by the end you're like, who? You know, people start, you start talking to other people about like, yeah, Carver, we got to go save him. Then they're like, who are you talking about, Isaac? Like, who's Carver?
Especially since he's still having hallucinations when he sees the marker runes and like how he's still being manipulated. Like, how is it that you thought? How did you think that to turn it off, turn it off, turn it off? How did you think that turning off whatever it is was going to save things? Like, it was on to save things. Like, the marker was, like, at this point, when you've dealt with all this crap, the marker still has such a massive influence on you that you can't be like, this is a trap. Like, literally, I should not be trying to do what
He
the
does a
marker
lot of
symbol
dumb
seems-
stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Right,
right,
he's supposed to be the smartest man in the room.
right in the very beginning, there's all that traffic in there, right? And he's like, "Oh, I'm a stasis the traffic."
Like, no, before that he's like, oh, there's too much traffic, and the guy has to tell him, oh, they're automated vehicles, you can just stasis them. He's like, what? And then he's not even the one that figures it out.
And how did you think that was gonna work?
Yeah.
Stopping one vehicle with 1 million of them moving at 7,000 miles an hour, and it blows. And at least he was like, "Oh, well, but that was a little much or whatever." It's like, what did you think was gonna happen?
Yeah.
Like that was a bad
Well,
idea.
and then all the while he's like taking the lead, like, because like the captain guy seems like fairly useless, but he's like, oh, there's this love triangle, and like, oh, and not to mention when you first meet up with Ellie, it's not that big of a deal, but it's also like, why? It's Dead Space, you don't need this. She has like a low cut shirt, and you're like, dude, will you just sexualize Dead Space? Thanks. Like,
Well, I mean, she was dragging a hefty wagon, even in Dead Space 2.
true, but it wasn't like, hey, here, look at my cleavage.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I said, it's like I'm not trying to shame. I'm not
No,
going to
but
be that
it
guy
goes
trying to shame
into
women or
that
anything.
why are we even exploring the love story? Like,
Exactly.
it's
The
like
love
just-
story should have been
Like, just remove
not
it.
an
Like,
aspect.
it didn't help
Yeah.
the plot.
But
Yeah.
to go back to Carver, it's actually interesting for me. Like I actually thought I was gonna have to shoot Carver at one point when I played single player because I never got to play co-op.
Yeah.
So
It's a wildly different
Yeah, it's like a
experience.
completely
It's
different
so
game.
crazy.
because I've seen the videos on it and everything, but when you're playing co-op, Carver and Isaac has it more.
There's-
Their relationship isn't like we're best buds, but they're more
they have more banter.
civil.
Yeah.
They're civil to each other. If you're single player, Carver's a dick.
Yeah,
Like 100%.
he reminds you constantly, I'm not your friend.
Yeah, I'm not your friend. I don't know where you think I'm your friend,
Yeah.
but I'm not your friend.
Mission. We gotta complete the mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, and every single time it's like you meet him, and he's like Isaac's trying to be like, "Hey, look, man, you know we're in this situation together. We don't have to be dicks to each other." He goes, "Look, I'm not your buddy, I'm not your friend. We're here to get this thing going so we can leave."
Yeah,
And of course, you find out Carver's whole sad, boohoo background story, but no
Yeah.
one really gives a shit.
it's too little, too late at that
I mean,
point.
it's not that his story's bad, but it would have been better if the game was better as a whole. You know what I mean?
Well, if they had focused on that, because his story would have made a better story than Isaac's simp story.
Yeah,
No, let's call it what
Isaac's
it is.
dead in 2. Carver takes over as the main character.
It
Remove
would
Isaac
have-
being a simp. Like, yeah.
It would have made that game would have made 100 times more sense if Isaac was not present.
Yeah.
Because think about it. Isaac fought Necromorphs. He did a great job. He died in 2. Boo, we are sad.
yeah.
We miss you, Isaac.
Instead of him being a bum, he's now kind of immortalized as this like person who survived.
Who
and, like,
fought the Unitologists.
Or in the game, in the context, Isaac would have been the enemy that they labeled, doomed them all.
Yeah.
Because he stopped the marker kind of thing.
Yeah,
so you could
that
see
public enemy number one.
the ramifications later of, oh, Isaac saved the world, but guess what?
They
He's still hated.
Yeah.
People think he was still the one. And that would maybe given, some other people some reason to be like, maybe we should fix this.
Well, Carver
Yeah.
still thought he was the Doombringer anyway because he was like, my son's in trouble because of your bullshit.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm having a hard time honestly remembering like the second half of this game. So because
Well, it starts to get to be a blur of just like the same
It
action
really-
things. And
It's Dead Space meets White. Because
Yeah.
the rest of the other Dead Spaces were like black because it was dark.
Yeah.
This one, Dead Space meets White.
yeah,
Because it's just snow everywhere
And
and,
it
it's light everywhere.
and every game had instant death moments, but this one had so much more bullshit, like the drill and the wall climbing segments and the things falling, freezing, yeah, and like
The freezing aspect I thought was bullshit. Like I get it, I know why we're doing it, but
it was just
Why?
another tension
Yeah.
builder thing. It was just to make you go, oh shit, I gotta keep moving. It's yeah.
yeah, there was, I don't know, there was a lot
But
of, well,
you-
it looks like, it feels like there was completely different writers on this, even though it was still made by Visceral Games. It was almost like EA, I don't know, fired everybody and hired a whole new team.
Because
And
Isaac's voice lines, it's like all of a, like I said, all of a sudden
sounds
he's in
different.
command.
Well, it has a lot more cheap jump scares. Like there were a couple of jump scares in 2, but like we said, like they
Mm-hmm.
were executed very well. Like the balloon suddenly popping out of no, you weren't paying attention to that balloon.
Yeah.
But the jump scares in the other ones, like the pinball machine, you walk up to and it's ding 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 ding, and it's like. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I see the pinball machine. It's gonna make a noise. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I was not expecting the balloon to pop. I was totally expecting other crap, and they kept throwing more and more jump scares out, and like
they weren't as much as trolls in this one.
yeah.
yeah.
They were trying to be, but didn't.
No,
they didn't pull
their
it off.
trolling was just okay. Look, you're gonna walk into this room and you're gonna kill everybody, and you think you're done, but you're not.
Yeah, like it wasn't good trolling. It
Yeah,
was like
it's like-
12-year-old trolling.
It's
Yeah.
like
Well, and then even when you get to any kind of hint of scary, is it the big drill part, right? You complete the drill, you come back, there's all those dudes standing in a circle, and you're like, ah, crap. And then they all cut their own throats. And it's like, oh, oh, okay, that was a little rough, right? And so it's like, yeah, that was kind of cool. And then you get to the spot where there's supposed to be stalkers. Stalkers in the snowstorm, terrifying. When you first walk up on it, you're like, oh crap, there might be stalkers here. And then, like you were saying, it zooms in and says, hey, just so you know, there's going to be stalkers in this part.
Oh my god.
And it's like, dude. And then it makes you go into this other area where it's like this big area.
Yeah.
You can see, like, you're in this little, it's not like the crate one from 2.
Yeah.
It's just this, you can see. It's like, if you would have taken the crate part from 2 and make it where you can't see, like, turned all the lights off, you just amped up stalkers. So at first, you walk up and you're like, this might be awesome. Because stalkers in the snowstorm would have been scary as fuck.
Yeah.
But no, they immediately ruined the vibe. I was like, oh man, it's gonna be nope. They ruined it.
Because like,
By the way, did you know there's stalkers here?
yeah, because most of the time when they introduced enemies or different elements in the previous game, you got a glimpse.
Yeah.
It was that unknown factor, that mystery. And even then, even when you fought the stalkers, you never got a clear look at them unless you stasis them and like as they're running at you and you kill them. They're running at you so fast they kind of pop around the corner.
Well, in this one, like you're walking up through the snow and you see footprints and you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
What is that? I think I might know what's coming up. Then you get a little closer, and then there's like a little wall. You're like, oh, like this is gonna be stalkers. I know it is, and I can't see them because it's snowy. And then it like immediately takes away all.
Yeah.
It's like come on, man, like you almost. Which and some of that stuff could have been kind of cool because like I liked exploring space a little bit in Zero G and finding some extra things, and that was kind of neat. But it's one of those, like you say, like the side quests. It's not that they were bad, but when the game is not that great and you don't want to play it, it's not like I don't want to do more of it.
Yeah.
I mean I did them all, but it's just to do it.
It works
but
best
like
as
I never
a linear
really
adventure.
Well, even if it had those side quests, like if the game was more enjoyable, where I wanted more out of it,
Yeah.
like that would have been kind of cool. But for the most part, I did them just to say that I went through all of it.
Yeah.
And and so it was like after doing them, I was like, okay, I'll do it because it'll give me some more stuff. I don't really want to go do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like the only one that was even a little bit scary was the one that had like the multiple regenerators, and that was just because like that was a lot of them,
Yeah.
But still, your weapons were so powerful they were almost no threat. So it's like,
Here's my question. Okay, you know when you're doing the whole the group of people that was on the planet before you got there,
Yeah.
when you're doing all their bullshit in the
Ship graveyard.
Yeah, the ship graveyard. It's like this is an excellent opportunity.
I got you.
This is an excellent opportunity to build up to make it like get that horror aspect going. But it's just go here, move this, girl grab that, go do this.
dogs in space.
Dogs in space. And it's like, okay, I'm like, okay, there's gonna be something that's gonna make me like understand, like, okay, this is gonna be a real thing. And it's like the only time I even remotely got kind of that feeling is when they turned on the computer and they activated the security system for all the ship, and now the ship's gonna blow up, get everybody in the escape pod. And
No.
yeah, I was like, okay, cool. That was it. It was like you did such a great job of building me up for like some really crazy part.
Like
and
kind of like the stalkers. Like you kept thinking something great was about to happen, and then you get to it, and
They pull the rug out from underneath your feet because they don't even give you a chance to experience it for yourself, to appreciate what they've built. They just like, here's what I did.
well,
So
and then
I guess they did keep to the troll ways.
Well, they do it. It's just not great. Well, and like, okay, so
It's horrible.
when you get near the end of the game, the action's really ramping up, and you're chasing the elevator down the thing. That part was kind of fun for a little bit, right? And you're getting going. It's like, oh man! And just as everything's getting building, it stops you, and it makes you do one of the worst aspects of the game, which is the stupid blue nipple puzzles.
Blue nipple puzzle?
Yeah, the co-op puzzle you're supposed to do where you have to move the blue parts onto the
yeah.
flashing thing and hit. That is the puzzles in this game are the worst.
Yeah.
They're stupid.
Like that little
They're
thing from Dead Space
insufferable.
2 wasn't super cool, like the where you like rotate the thing and press the button. It's like, it's okay. It's like little time waster.
Well, it's just like the little, okay, let me turn the different gears in the different ways.
for the cargo.
And, like, none of them had any kind of, none of them didn't really need any brain power. They were all really easy. And it's not like they had any kind of cool or complaint. It's not like a Silent Hill puzzle or anything. Like, they were just there. And especially when you're chasing the elevator down, I'm like, oh, the elevator just stopped and waited for me to do this blue puzzle?
Yeah, because they didn't get very far. By the time you get finished with the puzzle and you run down there, they're right there.
Yeah. So they're just waiting for me. Why?
I can see that. I can totally see that moment. Oh, look, Isaac, stop.
Yeah.
Just sit there and wait. Wait, is he almost done? No, he can't figure it out.
There needs to be like a YouTube poops video of the guys, in the elevator. Like, what are we doing? Oh, well, Isaac had to do a puzzle. Well, why are we waiting for him? Game says so. I don't know. We gotta wait for Isaac. Just turn it back on. We can escape. Nope. He's gotta move the blue nipples up there, just rubbing them, tweaking them in Tokyo.
Oh man.
Oh man.
But yeah, the puzzles were dumb and they were useless. And
Horrible.
I appreciate that they were trying to make like a co-op thing where you had to work on it together, but it could have been done so much better. Of like, this guy on this end of the thing needs to move parts, while this guy on this end needs to move parts. And I don't know. This game just. Like, it's not. I mean, there was some fun stuff in it, but I don't know, man. This game sucks.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Well,
to
and
talk
then you're down in the alien structure. The whole thing is the
Speaking
the
of which,
machine.
what I saw the statues, what those things supposed to look like, but you never get like a clear cut picture of what these aliens are supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Does it really matter?
yeah, it doesn't. Because the necromorph versions of them really don't look that mutated or anything. They look pretty similar. You know what I mean? But so you're running through the machine, right? Shit's going down. And again, you're chasing, like the dollar store version of Elton John through the machine, right? So you're trying to catch this guy, and then you gotta slowly move the thing for the bomb. Because when you pick up stuff with kinesis, you can only move at half a slug fart. Like, you're so slow. So it's like, let me move this thing so I can boop, beep, beep, beep. The dude's running from you. I could climb over that bomb faster than you blew it up. Like, what? Right? So, and then there's an optional mission in the middle of it. What sense does it make in a chase scene to add an optional mission? Again, dude is just hanging out somewhere going like, well...
They're doing it to piss you off, bud.
Isaac chose to do the optional mission, so now I just have to sit here and wait for the plot to advance. What?
It would be awesome
man.
if it was like, if you decide to do the optional mission and you catch up to him and Carver's sitting there like, like shooting at him to pin him down to slow him down. It would make sense, but no.
But it takes like 15 minutes to do that. So he's just like, he's just not moving. I don't know why. I just keep shooting at him. Yeah, I don't know, man. This game sucks. I just keep coming back.
It goes back to that.
There's like cool stuff about it, man. Like, it could have been a lot better.
Yeah, but the game just sucks.
But it just sucks. And I tried real hard to go in with an open mind because everybody says that it sucks. And I tried not to be that guy that'd be like, oh, they changed it too much. Or I tried to really, because that's what I do with any game or any review I do. I try to be objective and judge it based on just what it is. And yes, it's hard to not compare it to other games in the series, obviously, because it's still part of it. But just as a game, like by itself, even if it wasn't Dead Space, you know what I mean? It could have been called Bumbling Idiot Engineer that I don't know how to get a degree in space with demons. I don't know, but it still would have sucked.
Yeah, it has like, because at least in the beginning, up until a certain point, it has an okay start. There are things that like. It's still like fun to play at a certain point, but yeah, all those like once you get
there
towards
are fun
the end,
aspects, sure.
Yeah, once you get towards the end and things start to like really fall apart, you're just like, God, why am I doing it?
Yeah, by the time I got 14 hours in, now it's a little shorter if you don't do side missions, but I was 14 hours in. It's way longer. The other games beat like 8-9 hours, and I'm still playing it. I'm like, why am I playing this? Like, the only reason why I beat it was to talk about it on this podcast. If I weren't talking about it, I probably would have gave up by myself. Like, I'm pretty sure the only reason why we beat it before is because we were doing a co-op. Because like, there's some fun to have together a little bit, but if they would have taken it further
Yeah.
with that idea, it would have been even cooler.
For me to not go through the hardcore mode, like to complete 100% all the achievements and get everything in a Dead Space game, you know that it's not like worth replaying. And there's like 4 different extra gameplay modes that you can do, and it's
Like the Survivor wave.
Yeah.
Like you go build guns and you just go into the stupid room. And
I looked
see
through
how long
all of
you
it and I was
last.
like, I don't care about any of it.
yeah. At least
I don't know, man.
the fight against the moon was kind of cool and epic. but-
Except for the whole, like, you have to run or the tornado is going to kill you thing.
like build up to it.
That was
yeah.
another cheap, like, if you're doing an impossible, like, no deaths or
No,
whatever.
no, it's not a tornado. It's the necromorphs converging.
Yeah. The dust
Whatever
storm.
it is.
It's garbage.
The maelstrom of doo-doo and flesh. Like,
It's garbage. That
because I died a bunch of times during that. I'm like, what is, because it has the tentacle, it has things that stop you and slow you. So I'm like, okay, obviously the game has been telling me, like, I have to defeat these things to move on. But no, the only one you got to shoot is the tentacle because it blocks the way. Everything else, you should just, like,
out
freeze
of the way.
and run past, you know, which is not what the game has been training me to do. And so, because if you're too
Shoot
slow,
everything.
the thing blenders you. And it took me a couple of deaths, and I'm like, okay, people are probably saying, you're an idiot. Like, okay, I could have maybe realized that, but still, it didn't feel fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. And there's a lot of weird little designs, like auto save. When does this game save? I know it shows you, but there's so many times where it's like, okay, you walk in a room, you clear it, you go to the next room, it didn't save. Or it saves every single room. Or why did you take out save points?
Yep.
At least with the save points, I know exactly where I'm going to be if I have to reload.
Yeah, so I actually ran into an instance like that really threw me off because it was during where you're going through the Terra Nova and the generators are following you, and for some reason I keep having problems with my controller. It keeps disconnecting from like the Bluetooth from my computer, and every now and then it will just like freeze and have to reset. And there was one time where I had already shot the legs off of a generator, but my character was stuck moving forward. I got stuck on a wall, and he just came up and he was like, whap. Whap, whap, and then he whapped me until I died, right? But it saved as soon as I approached the regenerator, and when I reloaded, I was through the door I was heading towards, and the regenerator was gone. I'm just like, what?
Yeah, what happened?
What kind of checkpoint is that?
Yeah, the autosaves are weird.
Yeah.
And the autosaves give away ambushes.
yeah, they do.
Oh yeah, no, I forgot to mention that, but yeah, I do not like the fact that it auto saves. Give me my save points. Don't let me know when checkpoints are happening. Like,
Yeah.
So DLC.
yes, you. Can
I've
take-
never played it,
You can,
so
I've never played it.
I have
but
no
I've
opinion.
So, okay.
I've seen
The
a
DLC
video on it.
I'm gonna wrap it all
It's
up.
not
for
even
you.
that long.
No, it's not. So the DLC, at the end of the regular gameplay, they both die.
Yeah.
We all can agree on that one.
Yeah, how the hell would you survive that?
Well, I played a single, so my Isaac woke up with Carver, like kind of shaking him awake, going, "We need to get out of here," and he's like dragging him on a ship, and I'm like,
Where'd the ship come from?
"When did we get here?"
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure I died back there, but whatever.
Pretty sure that moon just fell onto this planet.
And we all just died.
Yeah.
No, so
I'm pretty sure there's no way you could survive a moon hitting the planet.
so
Yeah,
Carver's
no, not at all.
So Carver's trying to get you.
It's because it was a fleshy, squishy moon.
Yeah, it was already this close, so it just went. Beep.
So Carver's trying to get you to get your shit together so you can
I'm sorry, I just heard like this, like a fleshy, squishy.
Because is the moon even there when you start the DLC? Where'd it go?
It's just raining bodies.
No, the moon is actually talking trash to you the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like
You're trying to stop the convergence, but you can't.
I'm like,
Didn't I just do that?
I swore we had a fight and you lost.
Yeah. I turned the machine. You crashed
Yeah,
into the machine.
turn the machine on. Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So now he's like, listen, we need to get to Earth. We have to get to Earth because they're all heading there. All the other
The
fleshy
network.
moons.
The network of moons is
Are
a
all
it
heading
got
to Earth.
alert them before
yeah.
they.
Yeah.
Well, okay. You don't know that.
You don't know
right?
this.
You're like because like in the game itself, it's like they're connected. They're like there's these
So-
big extinction events because these moons that were created. Like like once one is woken up, there's the chance that it will send a message to reach another one. So you don't know. Like you're
So
like
that's
oh
why
yeah
they
we stopped.
froze. That's why they froze the
Yeah,
other one before
yeah.
it told all the other ones.
The convergence has happened.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there. You're going through this trying to. Carver is losing his mind at this point because he's like half sure he's having a psychotic break the other half is him losing his cool because his son is about to be turned into a flesh monster. So you go through all this, you have plenty of like brain fart moments where it's like you're walking down the hallway, suddenly Mr. Moon wants to be like,
By the way, Isaac, you're going to lose.
and Isaac's like, I'm gonna save Ellie because she's back on Earth. Simp, 100%.
You just retread the same ground too. There's nothing new.
Dude, he doesn't have like some newfound resolve. Like he's like, you know what? I'm about to, if we're not going to Earth, we're going to like head honcho moon number 1, busting a cap in him, and we're gonna wrap this all up. No, so you're pretty much fixing the ship to get back to Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get back to Earth, the conversion's already happened. Earth is gone.
There are two, like, you literally get there and you hear screams over the intercom, and like you see like one moon come up over the Earth, and it's like, that's not our moon, and then you see another one come up, and then like you see it approaching the ship, and then it ends.
Yeah, they're both screaming. Carver and Isaac are screaming.
What was the point in the other games or anything?
That's what we die. Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
God
maybe if it's like a what if
Mish.
scenario.
No,
but
no.
it's not, because if you watch through the credits, you get the message from Isaac or Carver or whatever, like, hey, is anybody out there?
Yeah.
So it's like canonical.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got an awesome DLC. Would have been way better, right? So you turn on the machine and it stops the moon, right? And it starts to fall apart, right? And so for the next, let's say, hour long, just to make it worth the $5 or whatever you play for DLC,
Lone
Drowning
Wolf.
Pool's bodies is just blaring in the background the whole time while you're running across and trying to get to the ship to escape.
And
just,
while Lone Wolf, it says survive.
yeah, Lone Wolf,
Like a
yeah,
Halo
survive.
Reach.
It's
Yeah.
just, what is it? Run. Let the bodies hit the floor.
Would have been
Just
awesome.
That
bodies
would've been
splattering everywhere.
Yeah.
Unfair deaths abound because they could just fall on your head.
Yeah.
And you just screaming,
Necromorphs just crawling up out of
raging.
everything.
Yeah, and then you go, because like I think the whole thing is like you're trying to get back to Earth, but you have to like fight a new wave of Unitologist cultists and like the Terra Nova, because like you literally retread through back like the military bases and like,
Really?
go back into space.
It's that much?
Yeah, and you go back into the ship graveyard. You like literally retread certain
yeah,
parts.
they literally took the game and went,
Turn it in reverse.
Just mirrored it.
Yeah.
See, that's more of that. Just
but
like
it's more streamlined. You don't have to do a lot of the going into the basement and other.
But there's
BS.
more
Yeah.
fighting actual people, isn't there?
Yeah, it's like a lot more people.
it's just more of that. Like, hey, keep making stuff.
Yeah.
Like, don't write an ending. Make sure you can
Yeah.
write something to keep it going, because which worked out real great for them with all the games that followed Dead Space 3, didn't it?
It's because it's
You mean the lack of games following Dead Space 3?
I
'cause
thought that was obvious.
they
but
because they killed.
thank you for pointing that out.
Anytime, bud.
They killed everyone. Like, how you can't keep making games if you literally killed everyone.
Yeah.
It's like it's one of those things. Like you said,
I mean, they could because there's
Just
zombies.
Isaac,
Yeah.
but it's just Isaac and Carver fighting moons for the rest of the time.
yeah. Like I mean,
Or-
it's funny that you said Isaac should have died, because that would have made more sense opposed to him finally making it through all this crap and then dying for no reason at all.
Well, and now I get the idea behind that. Like we were saying earlier, that everything he did, it didn't matter kind of thing. But see, it wouldn't have been if you would have ended with Dead Space 2 with Isaac dying there, and then continuation into 3 with a new protagonist trying to, like I say, defend what Isaac did or whatever. It's not that Isaac nothing mattered what he did. It's that it did matter. And so we have to stop the people who are making it where it didn't
Yeah.
matter. Like, there's a difference.
Literally, if Isaac would have died in 3, there's a whole nother faction that could have popped up, because you have the Unitologists who are like, Isaac was, the great creator of the marker and everything else. And then you have the other group of people going, Isaac doomed
False
us all.
God.
Yeah.
And then you could have those people that's right in the middle, that's like the people who are searching for an answer.
Yeah.
Carver could have been one of those.
Yeah.
Who's like, I don't know who Isaac was. I don't know what he did, but I want to find out.
I don't think that he was the great creator or the great doomer or
Yeah.
whatever.
And-
he was maybe the savior.
I
Yeah.
think, and then even if they did end off with the ultimately like your demise is inevitable, where like you can't save everything, you just delayed the end. That would still that would bring it to a much greater like having all these warring factions and all these things. Like it would make things kind of have more weight, because then it's like yeah, like all that was for nothing, but at least for a time, like you thought it was. I don't know. Like you could still have that. Like,
Listen,
like
well-
you don't because like. Do you want to have a happy ending or not? Like, make up your
Well,
mind. Dead Space.
that's the more we talk about it, the more Mass Effect-y it gets.
Yeah.
You know, that whole the end is inevitable. It's going to happen.
You've spent 3 games and nothing you did mattered. Like
0.
that's so cheap, man.
It is
Like,
cheap.
It's
Yeah.
not that it can't be done well, but again, another game. We see how that happened with Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Let's go back and redo the ending of the game and create 3 DLCs or whatever to. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was just
'Cause
so,
at least with the end of Dead Space 3, when you think Carver and Isaac are dead, and like they stopped the convergence event, at least like it's not a happy ending, but you can at least like believe that things worked out
Yeah.
for other people.
Like a lot of bad
Yeah.
stuff still happened, but maybe now we can move on from
Yeah.
it. I don't know. Well, I think we should wrap it up.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
really all I
yeah,
have to say
yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Dead
It's
Space 3 sucks.
honestly, you can skip it.
yeah.
There's some fun stuff in it, but is it really worth going through to experience that little bit
And
of fun?
honestly, you could play Dead Space 3 as a standalone.
Yeah.
Truth be told,
Yeah.
because
If you really want to just go through it.
yeah, because it doesn't give any value to Dead Space 1 or 2.
yeah.
It doesn't. I mean, they just honestly they took everything from Dead Space 2 and hoarded out.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is.
If
Well, thank you for listening. I hope we didn't piss everyone off who's a Dead Space 3 lover. Or if we did, tell us about it. I would love to talk about it with you.
Absolutely. I would love to actually talk to a Dead Space 3 lover because I want to see what they see.
Yeah. It will be really great and enjoyable.
well,
So-
when we first played through it, I was like, I don't see why everybody thinks this game's so bad, and it's just
So thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Tyler, for joining us for your quote final episode. Hopefully
Yes.
you'll be able to join us in some other future ones. And
Brendan Scott's like, no.
super
Sorry.
excited to have Scott on and
It's
joining
about
us.
to get real in the field, fellas. It's about to get real in the field.
So thank you, Scott, for joining on with us, and we hope you guys keep listening and enjoying Galactalloy.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to keep me part of the conversation, it's not like I don't exist anymore. This is my actual brother. Like I can know what's going on. So just if I'll be around, just let me know.
We'll forward his Facebook to you. You can blow it up.
No.
Well, with that, we're out, everyone. Thank you
Yep.
very much.
Peace.
Thank you, guys.